Prior to learning to day trade, I was at university, which I was going to do sports psychology, and I was ill at the time, so I had to drop out. I ended up finding trading online when I was ill, and originally it started off with binary options, then got me into Forex. From Forex, I found E-mini futures at a day trading company that Lindsay used to be part of. And that really enticed me just because of the kind of image that you got from e-minis, where you could trade less hours and the leverage is a lot higher, so you can potentially earn more in a short amount of time. Whereas some Forex courses, for example, and the idea of Forex is that you may have to be sat at the charts all day, and I really didn't like that. I almost thought that it was too good to be true, to be honest, at the start. But then I did some research, and that's where my interest went. Before looking into trading, I was heavily into sports. That was my main interest. I used to play a lot of football, and then with the illness I had, I couldn't really go into football as much. So I was semi-pro at the time. I had to kind of knock that on the head, but I had a lot of time for something new. And I don't know what it was. I was always interested in things like, obviously, everyone says it, like the Wolf of Wall Street. And I've always been interested in stocks, but I always thought that, you have to be really smart or have a finance background and all these kind of things. But then over time, I realized that really anyone could do it if you just put the work in. And once I went to uni, eventually I got a degree and then got my master's. And I thought, well, even though I had a degree in psychology, my interest was mainly on trading. I really enjoyed just looking at charts and like trading. Like the interest just grew, and obviously the freedom you get more than anything, like being your own boss, working the days you want to work, not feeling tied down and feeling stressed for having to work for someone else. And that just really resonated with me. So that's why I decided to go down the path of trading. Before joining responsible day trading, my level of trading was pretty much beginner, really. Like everyone else, I started with looking around for, obviously, Forex, had 100 indicators on my screen, just trying to find out what resonated with me, what I really wanted to focus on. And then I was at a different day trading course before joining Lindsay, which I recognised was very similar. I heavily went into that and really liked it. It had the same charting kind of setup using tick charts, but I felt I needed more information. Like certain questions wouldn't be answered, and I just needed more in-depth answers. I feel like I just needed to know why certain things happened, and I found Lindsay at Responsible Day Trading, which was the exact same trading setup that I'd seen years before when I was just joining university. So that's when I contacted Lindsay, and the rest is pretty much history. I've been here for about 1 year, just over a year and a half rather. So some misconceptions I had before joining responsible day trading was, as a beginner trader, you'd have a losing trade and you just assume you've done something wrong. Whereas over time, you kind of realize that every mistake you make isn't to be considered equal. So sometimes you can do all the right things and it may just not work in the market. For me, it was a bit hard because I was so used to Forex strategies, which are very systematic. But when I started with e-minis at Responsible Day Trade, it's discretionary. So it was just trying to understand how you can view the market in two different ways. So, for example, I may be thinking of a long or a buying, whereas Lindsay, for example, might be thinking of shorting. We can both be right. It's just the timing of the execution and knowing when to get out, when to get in. And it can be hard. And, as time goes on, you learn not to beat yourself up about it. At the start, I was really if you have a losing day of like 3 bad trades, I'm thinking, oh my God, like I suck, like I'm doing something wrong. And that's why it's so important to have someone there like Lindsay. I am a scholarship student, so I get constant feedback, and just having a mentor makes you more accountable for your actions. So you put more effort into actually taking screenshots of your trades, looking back at them, keeping a journal. Obviously, it doesn't happen all at the start. At the start, you don't want to journal. The idea of it's quite overwhelming. So as long as you're making baby steps and progress as you go on, that's all that matters, really. As long as you have the end goal in sight, you know what you're working towards. That's the most important thing. Cool. So my learning progress at RDT, like a lot of people, was very enthusiastic to get through all of the curriculum. I was just really excited. Obviously, everyone learns differently. Some people like to go through the curriculum and then that they end up having to go back through it and whatnot. But for me, I got through the curriculum fairly fast because I'd done a lot of like research, and before joining, I'd actually watched most of Lindsay's YouTube videos, which if you haven't seen them, I'd recommend checking them out because they're great. I went through all of those, so I knew kind of how she traded. I had a massive, I took loads of notes just on trying to learn things for free pretty much. And of course, the journey it's been tough. It is tough. But what I've realized now is that, a lot of the time it is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So a lot of the time you may have a problem with a certain aspect, and you'll end up spending like a few days or lots of hours focusing on this aspect. And as you get better at this one thing, it may impact another side of your trading that you haven't realized. And it's all kind of trying to get everything in balance. And it's not a bad thing, but it can be extremely frustrating at times. But it's just the process at the end of the day. Every successful trader's gone through it. And the more time that you put in, you realize you get better. And it has helped massively having a mentor, because the days where you feel bad, they give you the lift that you need to just that you are doing better, and they can see improvements, because they've seen all your trades from the start. Getting the homework back consistently. I've still got all my homework stuff saved, so you look back at it and you realize how you view the chart so differently now and how much you've improved. And occasionally I will go back to all my old charts. I have a big folder with all my losing trades from like over a year ago, and you look back and go, why am I taking those trades? Like, that's ridiculous. And it's nice to look back and actually give yourself the motivation, and just giving yourself a pat on the back that you are improving and the hours are paying off, and it will pay off eventually, and a change of lifestyle. And that's really what matters, well, for me anyway. Something that has improved a lot for me is the mental game of things. It's helped a lot having Lindsay and also Jason helping out, just to see how they view things differently, has helped a lot. Because when you just have one mentor, you can think, oh, I don't see things similarly to that, and you can panic a bit thinking, am I viewing this the wrong way? When in actuality, there's 100 different ways you can view the market. Jason's very into certain thinking about how the big banks trade, and he has a lot of a story behind why he entered his trades, whereas Lindsay can be very technical based as well. Obviously both situations work, but it helps massively with me, for my own mental state, knowing that I can trade however I feel is the right way, assuming that the indicators line up and everything is in accordance. But it's made me feel more relaxed, that I don't feel I have to trade in a concrete way. I'm just not in a box. You can trade however you like, and you almost feel free, or I should say, to flow with the market however you feel comfortable, really. Part of the journey that I have obviously enjoyed the most, which obviously a lot of people will say, is when as you're learning, you see a lot of setups, you see a lot of price movement, and you think to yourself, oh, this is a setup, and there's a psychological aspect of you don't want to pull the trigger because you don't want to be wrong. You're not sure, you don't know if there's enough confirmation. But then, over time, you just do it. Like, there's only so many times you can watch something happen and not enter a trade and it goes in your favor before you enter it. And when you do enter those trades and when they go for a lot of points, that it fills you with confidence that you are doing the right thing and it pays off. So when you hit like a trade which is like over 10 points, it's obviously maybe in like a couple of years I won't think anything of it, but now as a fairly new trader, it's a great feeling. Obviously there are the bad days as well, and you have to pick yourself up. Say if you get frustrated, and the worst for me is when I'll see a trade set up and I'll think, oh, I think that's got potential, but I'm just waiting. I don't know what I'm waiting for. I think it has potential, but I don't know if it's the best area or the best, I don't know. Like, sometimes your brain just isn't up to speed with the market and you'll miss a trade. And then I'll take a trade 2 minutes later because I think, oh, my mind will be focused on what the market has just done instead of what's happening now. And that can be quite hard to get used to, is just keeping yourself present with the current moment and trading what's in front of you, forgetting about the trade you just missed. A lot of behavior I've noticed that I've done since the start is if I miss a trade entry, I will be looking at how far it's gone from the entry I was seeing, going, oh wow, I could have made 8 points on that. I could be done for the day. And that's just something you learn certain behaviors which just don't benefit you, and eventually over time you learn to just cut them out. I still did it today, but it gets reduced, and as long as you make the baby steps to reduce it, you're still making progress. I think my current trading is going well. I see massive improvements. It's just improving on these small aspects which tend to repeat themselves, and it's just trying to identify them. But I do feel I'm close. I'm more patient for setups. I get less frustrated if I miss trades. I've seen so many different kinds of setups that the amount of time I've put in is just a lot of it, as Jason once said to me, the best teacher is just chart time. He said it's just screen time, and you'll see so many setups present themselves that you can build confidence in your indicators, the way they look. But as it is discretionary, it is a lot to do with training your eye. And for example, I went through a stage where I had the same chart setup as Lindsay. I had high time frame as 10946, mid trading chart 1597, entry chart 610 or 233. I've gone through stages where I've put the 610 as my trading chart, 233 entry, and so forth. I've mixed them all around to the point where I know how they act in accordance. I know how to trade the chart differently. So now that I've gone back to the original view, I understand almost how the BBs move in accordance. I don't know if that is explained right, but so I'll know what the 1597 is going to look like. I know how the BBs can roll, or I know how long the 10946 is going to take to turn. So I'm not putting as much emphasis on that. I'd say my favorite setup usually is for entry. It's divergence. For me, it's retracement divergence. That's something which gives me confidence and some strength behind that. My trading chart, a lot of the time, when it's slow and rolls, that's a key indicator for me. But something I have tend to struggled with in the past is trading with high time frame strength, because you don't get as much of a slow and roll occasionally. A lot of the time you have to anticipate it. And obviously with more screen time, you get used to different environments, and you almost have to anticipate things to happen differently depending on whether it's a strong trending day, whether it's ranging. And that bit's been hard for me, is trading with strength. And on days where there's a lot of strength, I will wait for a slow and roll and some divergence. And I may take less trades on a strong trending day because I know in the past they're just not my best days. but that's absolutely fine because I can practice on market replay and get better at that, and eventually it won't be a problem. It's just identifying the weaknesses you have and then working on them so they become eventually your strengths. And then a lot of the time at the start, when I first started, I was, you make mistakes, you don't want to analyze them. You feel, oh man, like I messed up there. I shouldn't be doing that. But it's so vital that you identify where you're going wrong and then improve on it. And then eventually it won't be a weakness, and there'll be something else you can find which will then also improve. No one likes it. Like when you lose a trade, taking a screenshot of it is just like, you don't want to see it. But you come back the next day or on the weekend, you look at it, you go, right, what have I done? What can I improve? And it all helps. It's just the ego getting in the way when you lose, because no one likes to lose. But it's just part of the game. So as for economic news, I don't really pay too much attention to it. It's mainly just the high impact news. Sometimes the medium impact, I take it into consideration. If you're not sure where to find that, you can find that on the Responsible Day Trading website under news. A lot of people pay attention to it. I don't really like trading high impact news just because of the volatility, and my risk to reward is usually, always 5 ticks in risk, 2 contracts. First target 2 points, which is 8 ticks. And then the second contract will be a runner. Or if I'm going against the current strength, I'll tend to take it off at the next area. So that's usually how it goes. Occasionally I can take 7 ticks if it's against the trend and coming up to an area which may hold, or I may just move my risk in quicker if there's a potential of a clear area for stops, for example, for retail stops, for the chance of a strong push through. Then I'll take profits quicker or move stops in accordance to that, really. So some steps I'm doing to become a better trader. This has progressed over like past year, so don't feel bad if you're not taking any of these steps or if you just started. So at the start, a lot of it just to do with positive mindset, self-affirmations, just each morning, occasionally do. Meditation, I've dabbled with a few times. If I'm sat at my desk and I can feel, a lot of just junk going on my head, then I'll just take 5 to 10 minutes just to breathe and just clear it all out. Otherwise, those 5 minutes are so vital. Instead of spending 5 times staring at a chart and you get angry or frustrated, and it just pays just to take 5 minutes just to chill out. My lifestyle is I live an active lifestyle. I have cold showers, all those kind of millionaire habits, if you like, but not for everyone. But they definitely help with just getting on with what you have to do. My trading plan's developed. So even in my trading plan, I'll look at it now, for example, hang on. I have positive quotes at the bottom of it. So obviously I have all my entry criteria and things like that, but I also have at the bottom certain quotes like, you never know which trade will be the best trade of your life, treat each trade individually from one another, taking losses is part of the game, time in the market is the best teacher, perfection in trading doesn't exist, confidence should not be based off P&L, my job is to enter the trades when the criteria is met, the outcome is out of my hands. Just small things like that which just almost give me like just a positive mindset before I go into the charts, just to know, just to almost have like a baseline that I can work off. And if you are behaving consistently, then you should be able to achieve consistent results. And once you have consistent results, I also have another point here which says take consistent actions following the plan to collect new data for improvement. So that's all just part of the process, trying to act consistently so that you can work on your flaws, highlight them, and just improve. Consistency in trading, I feel I am reaching consistency. So at the moment, I'm either normally positive for the month or break even. Break even tends to be like a bad month, but it's almost, I'm entering trades in a consistent manner. However, it's still, if I'm still entering them consistently, I'm also making some consistent errors, which need to be eliminated. But as a whole, my consistency has been improving with just, and that's also to do with getting feedback on homework and charts. So I get my charts reviewed fairly frequently by Lindsay, or Jason's done it a few times, and really having that extra person to just highlight where you are going wrong or something that you just don't see. So for example, the other day, Lindsay gave me back a chart review and she just pointed out something that was just so obvious and I just hadn't seen it and I just didn't even think about it. And, it's not always the things that you think are really complicated. It can be something so simple that makes such a massive impact on your trading. And, there's so many times you just have that like aha moment and something really clicks and you notice such a big impact on your trading. And I think, as you strive for consistency, there are just constantly those those brain waves or those aha moments where you think like this could be like the make or break, the thing which pushes you towards that profitable consistency. So any tips I'd have for anyone looking at the futures market? First of all, I would say if you're a beginner trader, you've got to find something which resonates with you. So don't go jumping into like the first thing you find. Make sure it actually suits you as a person. So, you might see a lot of courses and think, say, for example, it needs to suit your time frame as well. How much time do you have? Do you want to trade day trading intraday? Do you want to do it swing trading over days or weeks? You have to find the trading style which suits your personality. But obviously, apart from that, then you need to look at, if you're looking at signing up for a course, you need to find someone who takes time for their students. So the previous course I had, for example, was to do with E-mini futures, but they were taking on far too many students. Like each week I'd see like another 30 students, and it's like they just do not have enough quality time for each student. Like that's the good thing here at RDT is that you get quality time. Like Lindsay for me or Jason, I can literally drop them a text, drop them a message on Facebook, and they'll reply within a day. And it's like a friend or a family, really. It's just nice to know that you have constant support and it just keeps you going. So you need to really make sure that whatever company or educator you want to go for, you need to make sure that they are like reliable. Do your research to make sure that feedback they give is good, and just make sure that you want to be sure of it, which one. But it's great here at RDT, so I would recommend it if you do like the idea of trading futures and E-mini, and check out the YouTube video because it really gives you, you can tell a lot from educators when they give you good information for free. Like so many people will like say, oh, this is a proprietary indicator and not give it to you, but that tells you a lot. So I would say, all the traders in the world, you could say one vital characteristic is discipline or responsibility. You have to be responsible in the way you go about your learning. You need to be responsible that you follow your trading plan, that you do your back testing before going live. And the discipline comes in when, motivation is doing something when you want to do it. Discipline is doing something when you should do it, when you don't want to do it. It's just doing it because you should, taking photos, updating your journal, just doing things that are going to help you improve. And that's where the discipline comes in. So you just need to be on it, and you just need to, even the days where you feel like crap and you just don't want to do it, you just do. And once you start to see improvements, then your discipline starts to improve. A lot of the time you just need to get comfortable being uncomfortable in ways to improve. And as time goes on, your discipline will improve as well. So don't feel bad if you're just starting, you're like, oh my God, I don't have a trading plan, I don't have this. Like, it's absolutely fine. Like, as time goes on, you will get more disciplined, and that's why it's important. The more your passion grows, the more time and effort you want to put in, the more disciplined you naturally get. So if you're getting frustrated trading, it's just so common. I still get it occasionally, and over time it will go. There's a lot of books you can read, and obviously the thing about books, they're great, but then you need to have like deliberate practice, and you need to actually, once you've read it, you need to comprehend it. And so there's a lot of books. So I remember for me, Atomic Habits was a great read. The Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, that really resonated with just being focused on what's happening now. It really helps you understand what happens when you daydream, or it's just irrelevant, and how you need to be present on the charts, what's happening now, forget about the trade you missed. But there's a lot of books out there, and obviously there's so many different, so much to the psychology of it. You might be a revenge trader. You might think that you are revenge trading because you are frustrated, but it could also be a deficit in a different part of your trading completely. It could just be that you have a lack of understanding for a certain aspect of your trading. So it's really, write down what you think, write down thought you're having when it happens, write down if it's rational, and then write down a way of amending that behavior. And I've started doing this recently. I have like a piece of paper next to my desk, and rate stuff like the confidence of the trade before, rate it like as soon as you enter, and all these little things you don't realize can help you. There's so many different things you can do that can influence just different aspects. I know that's quite a broad answer, but there's so many different techniques you can use that help, even if it's just incremental help on different aspects of your trading. It all comes together. I would recommend responsible day trading to literally anyone. I've looked at so many different education providers, and the stuff here is just, I think it's amazing. I think it's the best for E-mini futures. Obviously, Forex, I can't speak because I haven't joined the Forex course, but for all of the education I have seen, the transparency here is amazing. The course is laid out great. It's simple to understand. The contact you have with your trading mentors, Lindsay, Jason, it's just so quick. Homework's great. Like, you ask a question, you will get an in-depth response. Another great thing, so we have the vault where you can see Lindsay's trades, all of the history going back like over a year or two, which includes the losses, the days where she acknowledges herself that she's not paying attention, she's on her phone, actual realistic expectations of what an average person goes through on a day-to-day basis. Whereas a lot of education providers are they're just unrealistic. They're like, oh, you've got to be like on your A game, like and all this crap really, and it's just not realistic. And here at RDT you get such a transparent view. Like, you'll see, like, I think Lindsay's only lost like twice in like the past year, or once or something like that, but you'll see the losing trades, and Lindsay's so open, and she'll go, yeah, bad day, I just wasn't paying attention, I wasn't being present. But that's so important. And as a developing trader, it's, obviously I don't want Lindsay to lose, but it's almost good to see that she's human. She makes mistakes, and it almost resonates with you, because you're like, well, if Lindsay makes mistakes, then it's okay that I make a mistake here and there. And yeah, and if you're unsure whether RDT is for you, check out the YouTube page. You'll get a really good look at how everyone here trades. Just have a look, get a feel for it and see if it's for you. Also, another thing would be that, which is great about RDT, is that once you pay for the course, you have the course. It's the curriculum there. You have it for life. So many educators out there will charge you like £1,000 a year, and they just keep dangling the carrot in front of your face, like new content, new indicators, and all this crap you don't need. And it just puts a hole in your pocket. Whereas here, it's there. You join, you have constant contact whenever you want. It's not like you have to pay for just to ask a question, or It's just all there, which is separates this company so much like further apart than other educators. And I still see like old company, like an old company I used to join, and they've changed the subscription. I'm just like, they just don't care about the students, and that is something I think really separates RDT from most educators out there.